And what do I mean by that? The University of Pennsylvania was founded as the first university, non-religious higher education institution in the colonies. Harvard and the College of New Jersey, which subsequently became Princeton University, were founded before Penn, but they were founded to train people in religious topics, religious subjects. Benjamin Franklin believed that practical education was incredibly important. He stressed the values of practical education, including the study of language, which is a great source of pride for those of us here at Penn Global, but also medicine, history, topics that could be applied to practical use. And this idea of unifying theory and practice, unifying academic knowledge and social need, which was part of the University of Pennsylvania's creation, is still very much kind of how we think about our role in the world today. And so if you look at the strengths of the University of Pennsylvania, if you look at what drives kind of how we do, there's constantly this discussion about leaving the ivory tower, stepping out of the academic realm, and understanding how academic knowledge informs society and informs critical issues facing our world. The university has 12 schools and a hospital, the Hospital of the University of Pennsylvania. All of the facilities of the school are located right here. You can walk to them from this building. Makes us different from our peer schools. Cornell, for example, is located in Ithaca, New York, about 4 hours outside of New York City. But Cornell's medical school and its hospital are in fact located in New York City. So you can understand there's a great distance between some of the institutions in our peer schools. The proximity of all of our schools and our hospital here on campus allows for a tremendous amount of interdisciplinary research, and I know my faculty colleagues can talk a little bit about how they are moving across disciplines constantly here in their work. We also have all of our athletic facilities here, which is pretty unusual too for an urban school. If you take a tour of the campus, you'll see there's a wonderful 30,000 person stadium that sits right on the edge of our campus that was actually opened up by another Franklin. This is Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who came to the university in the 1930s to open up that stadium. It never actually gets 30,000 people in it anymore because our football team is not as good as it used to be. But the 12 schools, we have 4 undergraduate schools. Our undergraduate schools are our College of Arts and Sciences, the Wharton School of Business, the Nursing School, and the School of Engineering and Applied Science. And then we have 8 additional graduate schools that award master's and PhD degrees. 25,000 students. I heard a colleague also mention roughly 25,000 students. So we are considered a medium-sized research university. Not small, but certainly not the largest here in the United States. 4,638 faculty members. A large portion of those faculty members, this is somewhat unusual, people don't necessarily anticipate this, are in fact in our medical school. They are clinicians who provide medical services in the hospital to the community. So that's about maybe half of those faculty members are in fact clinicians and faculty members in the medical school. The other half are spread throughout the 11 other schools. 314,000 alumni. We have many, many alumni in India. In fact, we have 5 alumni clubs in India, in Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai, and Kolkata. So we have deep ties to many alumni in India. I mentioned our campus here in West Philadelphia, and it's sort of all contiguous here. 91 undergraduate majors, a $12.12 billion endowment, and about $1 billion in research awards that we receive annually from private institutions, from government institutions, and from elsewhere. To give you a sense of our international profile, I have some slides that talk a little bit about the inbound and the outbound in terms of international students and scholars. We have about 5,000 international students on campus a year. You can see, I don't think I have a clicker, but you can see that the trend has been growing in the United States, increasing 186% since 1990. I suspect we'll get even above that this year. And so this has been an area of significant growth. We are an old institution, more than 250 years old. we have always been international. We have records of our first international students coming to the University of Pennsylvania in the 1820s. Of course, by some definitions in the 1700s, all of our students would have been international British citizens sort of in the colonies, right? But in terms of in the contemporary period, thinking about our presence as a global campus, this is really new for U.S. research universities to have this huge growth of international students. Similarly, we think about the outbound, how many of our students are going abroad. Roughly 2,500 in the last year where we have data. We report sort of a year in arrears because we gather all the data in the subsequent years. But really the bulk of these students are going on short-term study abroad. There's sometimes a perception or misperception that many American students are going abroad for a semester or a year, which is true. I know in a lot of other countries there's a strong push for students to go for outside education for longer periods of time. In the United States, we struggle to get our students to go abroad for a long time. Many of them want to go for shorter periods, intensive periods, and I imagine Bilal sees a lot of that in the water program. International education on campus. We have a huge range of conventional international majors. This is kind of the profile that you would see in a lot of American colleges and universities in terms of the types of majors they offer that have a global component. But where we see significant growth in terms of international education is in contextualizing subjects in a global context. So global health, right? These are students who want to study health and healthcare, but they want to understand the global health context. International management, global human rights, international development, engineering and entrepreneurship in a global context. This is where we see growth among our student population and among our faculty in terms of explaining the world through by looking at global situations in different disciplines. 63 languages offered at Penn. This is actually something that we are very proud of. I mentioned that Franklin, in establishing the university, called for the teaching, I think, of French, Spanish, I can't remember the third language. And I think, as you'll note, there are many Indian dialects that we teach here as well. There's a reason for that, which I will get into. But we are very, within the Ivy League, we teach more languages than all but one of our peer schools. Harvard teaches about 90 languages. We teach 63. By contrast, our peers at Princeton teach about 20.
What does that red color indicate?
Everybody asks that. I just do that to kind of make the list more interesting.
That's
We never imagine universities, US universities will have such type of courses.
I was going to change the slide and highlight all the Indian
No problem.
languages.
No, actually, my mother tongue is in red. That's why I got curious.
Oh, okay. Well, if we have students who need to learn it, we might hire you to teach it.
Yeah.
So what's interesting about Telugu is that now 1 in every 4 Indian migrants to the US speaks Telugu.
Telugu.
1 in 4.
The ratio is quite good.
That's why you highlighted in red.
You are ruling. You are ruling your area. You are ruling your area.
It's funny, when I gave this presentation a while back, our faculty member, who's our vice provost for faculty, Anita Allen, looked at the list and she says, but you don't have English up there, so you can add English. It's not originally listed as a language that we talk here, but we do teach English. So it's now on the list. Global centers and partnerships. We have more than 60 centers and institutes at Penn with a global focus. These include things like our Women's Center, the Leonard Davis Institute for Health Economics, CASI, which Bilal represents, South Asia Center, studies centers on China. So we have study centers that focus, have a regional focus, but also a thematic focus with a lot of global work. More than 200 partnerships with international organizations, and on your country snapshot, you'll see the number of partnerships we have in India. 140 million in sponsored research with an international component. And then we have 3 major hubs for global activity on campus. Our Penn Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement, the Perry World House, and the Penn China Center. I'll quickly talk about those because they have been established in the last 3 years. I mentioned when I started the presentation that really thinking of the university as a global research university and what that means is relatively new for the University of Pennsylvania and for many of our peer schools. And these 3 centers that I'm about to talk about have been opened in the last 3 years. So it gives you a sense of how we are, in many ways, playing catch-up with the rest of the world in terms of thinking about how to engage at a macro level beyond kind of individual research initiatives. So Vice President Biden joined the faculty a little over a year and a half ago, and he has opened up a center focusing on diplomacy and global engagement. This center is located in Washington, D.C., so it's an outpost of Penn in Washington. They're focusing on a variety of topics, including the transatlantic relationship and building partnerships between academic communities and the policy world to address a variety of topics. We have the Perry World House here on our campus, which is sort of has a similar focus to the Penn Biden Center. Perry World House is a hub on campus for international activity and engagement, and is also addressing major thematic issues, including global migration and issues affecting global governance. And then we have a center in Beijing that we opened in 2015 to serve as a hub for activity and build our connections to China and East Asia. And so those are our 3 kind of university-wide international centers. Quickly, I will give you a little bit of information about our history in India. It's something we are quite proud of. We have done, for over a century, the University of Pennsylvania has been engaged with India and in teaching India. In fact, I was told the other day, and my colleagues can tell me if this is true or not, that the University of Pennsylvania is the only university in the United States that has consistently taught India on its campus since the earliest days of the 20th century through today. So in the late 19th century, you can see we became the first American institution to offer courses in Sanskrit. We established the first academic department devoted exclusively to the study of South Asia in 1947. More recently, a little more than 25 years ago, we established the Center for the Advanced Study of India, and then in 1997, the University of Pennsylvania Institute for the Advanced Study of India, which is an analog research arm based in Delhi at the Habitat Center. So we have a very strong history in India, and that's reflected in a wide range of activities that take place on campus today. Just briefly, we have a large number of students from India who come to the University of Pennsylvania. It's the 2nd largest population of international students here on campus, roughly about 800 students a year. And you can see that they mostly are in our engineering school. Oh, sorry, that's our alumni, but that's true too. Mostly in our engineering school, Wharton School, School of Arts and Sciences. Outbound, as I mentioned, we sort of look at these things in parallel. 748 students studying abroad in India in the last 5 years, close to 200 faculty research and instruction activities since 2012. It's very hard, I don't know how it is in Indian universities, it is very hard for us to get our faculty to tell us what they are doing. So we always see these numbers as a kind of baseline, not a ceiling. So really there's a significant amount of activity underway between Penn faculty members in India, and we capture what we capture. And again, you can see that the most interest exists in our School of Arts and Sciences, our medical school, that PSOM designation is the Perlman School of Medicine, and the Wharton School of Business. This is just some examples of some of the research that our faculty members are engaged in. I won't go into too much detail because we have 2 colleagues here who talk about their work, and I can answer any questions. But I do want to mention that last year, just about a year ago, we announced the creation of an India Research and Engagement Fund. This is a $2 million research fund that is going to be deployed to promote deepening faculty engagement with India in areas of research and collaboration with Indian partners. And we will be announcing those awards this September. They really reflect a broad range of disciplines from across the university, so we're excited about that. I will stop there.